Hello and welcome back to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 1st April 2025. In today's session, we will cover some important and anticipated topics for your prelims and mains examination from today's article in The Hindu and the Indian Express newspapers. First, we will discuss the basics of monsoon, focusing on the mechanisms that drive this seasonal phenomena in India. We'll examine the factors influencing the monsoon and their impacts on agriculture, water resources and the economy. In our second topic, we'll try to analyze the geopolitical and environmental issues contributing to the increased conflict in Arctic region. After that, in our simplified section, we will take up 5 articles and we will try to explain them in simplest language possible to enrich your understanding of the newspapers. Additionally, we have also incorporated some prelims pointers which is going to be very crucial for your upcoming prelims 2025 examination. So have a look on them also and stay tuned. So we will start our discussion with the first topic, that is basics of monsoon. The context of this topic is that the India Meteorological Department, which was established in year 1875 and which functions under Ministry of Earth Sciences, has ruled out the possibility of an El Nino in upcoming southwest monsoon season this year. And what exactly is this El Nino? In Spanish, it means little boy. And it can be defined as the climatic pattern that describes the unusual warming of surface water in eastern tropical Pacific Ocean and which impacts the monsoon in India. And this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 1, salient features of world's physical geography, important geophysical phenomena. If you talk about this word monsoon, it is derived from Arabic word mausim, which means season. In Hindi also, at some places, people call season as Mausam. And this monsoon can be defined as seasonal reversal of winds accompanied by shifting of this intertropical convergence zone. And this 4-month period starting from June to September can be called as this southwest monsoon season. Now, what is this intertropical convergence zone, and with the shifting of this ITCZ, how this seasonal reversal is happening? Let's try to understand this. So, you know that sun is here, and when sun is shining at equator, it leads to supply of proper solar radiation to this zone of equator. And when so much of solar heat or solar radiation is being supplied to this zone, it leads to creation of this zone of low pressure. Why? Because of the warming of this zone. So when warming happens, it leads to creation of a low pressure zone. And when there is a low pressure zone, obviously these easterly winds which are there, they are converging to this low pressure zone. And because comparatively at the subtropical zones, there is a high pressure zone. So whenever with the intense heating near the equator, there will be a low pressure zone created. It will lead to convergence of the tropical easterlies at the equator near the intertropical convergence zone. But you would be aware of the fact that sun doesn't shine for all the 12 months at the equator itself. Rather, it moves towards tropical of Cancer as well as towards the tropic of Capricorn. So with the apparent movement of the sun towards the tropic of Cancer, there is also the apparent movement of this ITCZ. So what we can conclude that this ITCZ is not a static zone. Rather, it is a dynamic zone which moves from equator towards the tropic of Cancer or tropic of Capricorn with the apparent movement of the sun itself. So what happens that when from June to September month, when the sun is moving towards the tropic of Cancer, and when this ITCZ is also moving towards the Indian subcontinent or towards the tropic of Cancer, it also leads to the attraction, or it also steers these tropical easterlies towards Indian subcontinent or towards the tropic of Cancer. And these tropical easterlies will cross this equator and then they will come towards northern hemisphere. But as you would be aware of the fact that Coriolis force which emanates out of the earth rotation, it says that any of the object or the wind, when they will move in the northern hemisphere due to impact of the Coriolis force, it will be deflected towards its right side in the northern hemisphere and it will deflect towards its left side in the southern hemisphere. So when these tropical easterlies have crossed this equator and they came in northern hemisphere, due to impact of the Coriolis force, they will be deflected towards its right side and they will become the southwesterly winds, southwesterly. Now what happens when this southwesterly will try to come towards Indian landmass, it will get moisture from these water bodies, from these seas areas. And when this reaches to this zone of the Western Ghats, when it strikes the Western Ghat mountain ranges, it leads to creation of orographic rainfall situation, where the condensation and further precipitation happens, and whatever the moisture laden winds were there, that leads to precipitation or the rainfall. And when this southwesterly winds reach this Kerala coast, that is a situation that is called as the onset of monsoon. Further, other southwesterly winds will come towards the Indian landmass, and it will strike this Arakan mountain ranges which is there in the Myanmar region, and which will further divert these southwesterly winds towards the Indo-Gangetic plain. And when they will come towards Indo-Gangetic plain, that will lead to rainfall towards in this northern belt of the India. And that is the reason this is the season of the Kharif crops. So these monsoon rainfall are very much important, very much crucial for the crops that we are growing in the Kharif season, especially the rice, etc. So that is the reason when there will be an inconsistent monsoon or there will be less monsoonal rain, it will also impact the agricultural productivity as well as the people who are dependent on the agriculture in India. What are the other factors that are affecting the monsoon? The first important is the differential heating and cooling of the land and water. As you would be aware of the fact that land heats faster as well as it loses its heat faster as compared to the water bodies or the sea zones. So what happens when this land gets heated fast, there will be a zone of low pressure created, whereas the comparatively this sea zone or the water bodies will have a high pressure because of the less heating that will be there in the water bodies. So this low pressure zone that will be created in the Indian landmass, that will try to steer these moisture laden winds towards the Indian landmass, and that will further help in ensuring that these moisture laden winds or the seasonally reversed winds are coming towards the Indian landmass. Another factor is the high pressure near Madagascar, especially east of Madagascar near the African continent. This high pressure zone that is created near east of the Madagascar, and when we have this low pressure zone in Indian subcontinent, in Indian landmass, that further supplies these moisture laden winds, that further ensures in the supply of these seasonal winds towards the Indian landmass as well as towards ensuring that there is proper monsoonal rainfall. Then this intense heating of the Tibetan plateau, as we have said that with the apparent movement of sun towards the Tropic of Cancer, when heat is being supplied towards this Tibetan plateau, so this Tibetan plateau, which is a landmass, obviously it will get heated faster. So with the apparent heating or high heating of this Tibetan plateau, which will ensure that there is a low pressure zone being created around this Tibetan plateau, which will further ensure that more and more seasonal winds are getting attracted towards this low pressure zone. And when Tibetan plateau is attracting these seasonally reversed wind, it will help in ensuring that there is proper rainfall happening in the Indian landmass. This apparent movement of the sun that we were discussing from equator towards Tropic of Cancer, you can relate it with any of the movie that you start watching. From the first second till the last second of that movie, whatever the story is there, whatever the direction of director is there, with that the story of the hero, the story of the villain and all other characters in that movie changes itself. So here with the apparent movement of the sun itself, all other things are changing, whether it is the shifting of ITCZ, whether it is the heating of Tibetan plateau, whether it is the seasonal reversal of the winds that is happening. All the things are interrelated and they are changing with the shifting of the ITCZ zone, which is happening due to the apparent movement of the sun. Then the movement of the westerly jet stream. Jet stream can be defined as the high speed upper air circulations, and these are generally present at the upper troposphere, and these jet streams influences the climatic patterns, temperature, rainfall of the world. Now what happened generally when sun is near the equator itself, there will be a westerly jet stream which will be situated near this Indian subcontinent. But with the apparent movement of the sun towards the Tropic of Cancer, these westerly jet stream further moves outside the Indian subcontinent. It will move towards the northern side, and there will be a easterly jet stream which will come towards the Indian subcontinent. So with the apparent withdrawal of the westerly jet stream and with the arrival of the easterly jet stream, it will further attract these southwesterly winds or moisture laden winds towards the Indian subcontinent, which impacts in the proper monsoonal rainfall in India. Then we talked about the El Nino and the La Nina. El Nino, as we have described, as the climatic pattern that describes the unusual warming of the surface water in eastern tropical Pacific Ocean. When there will be warming of the eastern tropic Pacific Ocean and there will be cool water that will be coming in the western tropical Pacific Ocean, obviously cool water means high pressure. So it will not be ensuring that there is a low pressure condition creating, and that will not help in ensuring that more and more moisture laden winds are coming towards the Indian subcontinent. So with the phenomenon of El Nino, we see a poor monsoon rainfall which impacts the overall rainfall in Indian subcontinent as well as agricultural productivity as well as the people who are dependent on the monsoon. Whereas the La Nina is the opposite, which ensures that there is cooling of the surface water happening in the eastern tropical Pacific Ocean, and warm water, when it will come in the western tropical Pacific Ocean, it will create a situation of the low pressure, and where that will help in ensuring that more and more southwesterly winds, as well as it will help in steering these westerly winds towards the Indian subcontinent. And what are the division of the monsoon? So there are two branches. One is the southwest monsoon season, which is seasonal in character, occurs between June and September, that we have talked about. But with the apparent movement of the sun from Tropic of Cancer towards the equator, this monsoon will also start leaving in India. That is the case of retreating monsoon season, which is marked by the clear skies and rise in the temperature in months of October and November. And that is also called as the phenomena of October heat, which is happening here. And it helps in ensuring that there is proper rainfall in this states of Tamil Nadu, etc. So Tamil Nadu majorly gets the rainfall with the help of this retreating monsoon. Then if you talk about the impacts of the monsoon, for example, on agriculture, in agriculture, almost 50 to 60% of irrigation needs are being provided because of this agriculture itself. Why? Because in India, almost 85 to 86% of farmers are small and marginal, as per the economic survey and various other sources. So these small and marginal farmers do not have proper inputs, do not have proper sources to ensure that they can use the diesel pumps or any of the mechanical inputs. So they are mainly dependent on this monsoon rainfall itself. And whenever there will be less monsoon rainfall, it will be highly impacting our Kharif crops. And if you talk about this Rabi and Kharif, again they are derived from the Arabic words, where Rabi means spring and Kharif means autumn. And these words you can find from the Mughal period itself, they were being used. Also, this monsoon is impacting the crop yield, crop diversity. For example, when we have said that in 2019, when there was a less monsoonal rainfall, it has impacted the food grain production as well as it has impacted the overall economy. Because whenever there will be less supply of food grain production, obviously demand is more or less same, as well as this month of June to September also coincides with some of the important festival seasons in India. When there will be festivals, obviously people will be buying goods and services, and especially the groceries, especially the food products. And when we have a poor monsoon rainfall and we do not have a proper supply of food grain production, obviously it will lead to a situation where demand is very high but supply of the food grains are very less. In that case, obviously we'll have a case of very high inflation in the economy. As well as it creates a situation of the crop diversity, that people generally thinks to grow various other crops like maize, etc. And it also leads to creation of different cuisines, that you will find that in the monsoon season that people tries to ensure that they are making various food products. They also try to explore various other food products. And when we were talking about the impact on the agriculture, you would be aware of the fact that as per the economic survey, to 2025, agriculture contributes to almost 16% of GDP. We are talking about the agriculture only. And it supports around 46.1% of the population as per economic survey 2025. When it is contributing 16% to GDP, when 46.1% of the population is dependent on the agriculture, obviously if we will have a poor monsoon rainfall, it will impact the overall agriculture sector as well as the overall profitability remuneration of the people. Then if you talk about the economy, As per the estimates of the Reserve Bank of India, 1% rainfall deficit during the monsoon season can lead to a less GDP growth rate of around 0.35%. Why? Because as you know, in the GDP we have the four components. One is the household consumption expenditure, one is the private investment, then we have the government spending, and then we have the net of exports. When we will have a poor rainfall, obviously it will impact the overall food grain production. So obviously our exports will be impacted, as well as the household consumption expenditure will be also impacted. Why? Because there is less food grain production, demand is more or less same, supply is less, inflation will be high. So when inflation will be high, so obviously people will not be buying that much of goods and services. So obviously the household consumption expenditure will also be lesser. Also the inflation that we are generally witnessing, that whenever we have a poor rainfall season, we generally see that there is the headline inflation, that also you can witness in this zone. Tomato, onion prices, that you can see that it were very high in the month of July. Why? Because what happens, there are two types of inflation. One is the headline inflation and the one is the core inflation. In the headline inflation, we are generally focusing on the food and fuel components more. So what happens, that obviously if there will be a poor rainfall, we will have less supply. But more than that, during the monsoon season, what happens, that the plucking of these products like tomato, onion, harvesting of these products also gets impacted, because in the rainfall obviously farmers will not find it suitable to pluck the tomato from the plants. So this leads to less supply of these tomato in the mandis, as well as the transportation etc. also gets impacted due to the increased cases of rainfall. So what we are saying, what we are witnessing, that during this period of July to September, if there will be less rainfall, then there will be less supply of food grain production, then also we will have a high inflation. And even if that is not the case, if we are having a very good inflation, a very good rainfall or unseasonal rainfall, incessant rainfall, that will further impact the harvesting and plucking of these perishable items, especially the vegetables, and that will further diminish the supply of these food products in the mandis, and which will impact the cost of these products. And that is the reason in September 2024, the cost of the tomato reached to almost 120 rupees per kg. And it also impacts the exports and the economic growth. When inflation will be very high, obviously our products will not be competitive and the export demand will reduce, and which will impact the economic growth also. More than that, the hydroelectric power generation. The monsoon rainfall ensures that there is proper supply of water to these hydroelectric power generations, and which helps in recharging of the dams and reservoirs, which helps in ensuring there is uninterrupted power supply. It also impacts the biodiversity. For example, it helps in rejuvenation of the wetlands, and it also supply water, as well as it helps in easing the climate, that is the hot climate that we were witnessing, that it helps in diminishing the mercury. And on culture etc., it also helps in ensuring that if you look into the different kind of festivals that are generally celebrated in the monsoon season, for example, festivals of Tej, Onam etc. generally coincides with this monsoon season itself, which helps in further exploring our culture, further ensuring that our culture is promoted in other parts of world with the help of different attire, cuisines etc. And if you talk about the negative impacts, it leads to whenever there will be untimely rainfall or increased rainfall, and when we are not opening our dams on time, that will lead to cases of floods, landslides, which can lead to loss of life and property. For example, in Kerala itself, last year you saw that there has been loss of life and property because of the floods and landslides during the monsoon season. So monsoon have both positive and negative impact. There was a question in the 2014 prelims examination related to this monsoon. You people can try answering this question in the comment box. And this is a mains practice question from this particular topic. Do write this question. Our second topic is, why are tensions high in Arctic? The context of this topic is that growing power struggle for Arctic resources amid growing climate changes, that is leading to the struggle as well as various geopolitical issues in this region of Arctic. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 2, important international institutions, grouping and agreements involving India and or affecting India's interest, as well as this topic will relate with your GS paper 3, environmental pollution, degradation, conservation. So what is happening, as per the report of NASA and various other agencies, Arctic is warming twice as fast as rest of the planet, and which is driven by the melting sea ice and thawing or carbon rich permafrost, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. What is this zone of permafrost? That is the layer of rock or soil containing estimated 1 to 1.5 trillion tons of organic matter, dead plants and animals that remain frozen continuously. Whenever the global temperatures are increasing, global warming is increasing, it is leading to melting of these glaciers, and that is the reason the new zones are being created, new lands are coming outside. And in this zone of Arctic, whenever the melting of the ice is happening and there are more lands that are available to be used for different purposes, these particular countries which are located near Arctic Circle are in power struggle, that who will be the owner, who will be utilizing the resources of this Arctic. Why? Because if you talk about the Antarctic Treaty, which has been signed by various countries, that explicitly ensures that there will be a proper use of the resources of the Antarctic. Also, there will be no military use, there will be proper sharing, there will be no sovereignty claim on the Antarctic zone, but there is no as such treaty for the Arctic regions. So what is happening with the melting of this glaciers in the Arctic region? It is creating global concerns, and that is leading to rising tensions, and that could trigger conflict. And what are the driving factors for this conflict? The resource competition between the people, between the countries involved in this zone. That, let's suppose we are getting more petroleum products, rare earth elements we are getting. So who will have the right to mine these? Also, the geopolitical rivalries that is going on, whether it is between the USA and China, Russia, whatever there is, and the military interest, because whenever any of these countries will have the military installations, obviously tomorrow in case of war and any kind of situation, they will have upper hand. So with all these drivers, there is the conflict that is going on. If you talk about the Arctic nations, so there is an Arctic Council which has been established, and the council members are United States, Russia, Norway, Denmark, that is also called as Greenland, Canada, Sweden, Finland and Iceland. And there are some permanent observers in the Arctic Council. India is also one of the permanent observer in the Arctic Council. Now these Arctic nations are actually fighting for the claim on these zones which are coming due to the melting of the glaciers. And if you talk about this Arctic Council, it focuses on environmental protection, research and indigenous rights protection on the resources of the Arctic. And there are various territorial claims that are happening between the various countries, between various Arctic nations. For example, the Canada, Denmark are claiming the resources, lands. Russia claim overlapping seabed areas. Because what happens, as per the UN clause, there are various restrictions, there are various zones that has been created. For example, the exclusive economic zone will lie up to 200 nautical mile from the coastline. But let's suppose this is India's coastline at this point of time in 2025. But let's suppose the sea level have risen, and it has led to ensuring that our coastline has shifted to few meters or few centimeters. Now what will happen? Obviously it means that our exclusive zone will also be impacted, because our coastline has shifted, and as per the UN clause, exclusive economic zone lies up till 200 nautical miles. So with the melting of the glaciers, with the new lands coming out for the zone, there is claims that are happening that who will be using these land, because as per the UN clause, the countries have their exclusive economic zone rights as till the 200 nautical miles. And Russia has the largest icebreaker fleet in this Arctic zone, as well as they have a nuclear powered one fleet here itself. In future, this may be one of the area where the power struggle will happen. So what is happening in the Arctic? It is leading to melting of the ice because of the climate change is opening new trade routes and the route access. And as per the undiscovered resources in the Arctic, which have a size of 40 million kilometers square, it have almost 8% of earth surface, 15% of land surface, and at least 90 billion barrel of petroleum reserves are supposed to be there in the Arctic zone, and which is estimated to be 13% of the overall global reserve. There are reserves of natural gas, liquefied natural gas, as well as various elements like nickel, iron ore, copper, uranium, diamond, and various rare earth elements are supposed to be present in this zone. Now you think that if there will be a country who will have the right territorial right on this zone, how much the resources they may have, and that is the reason this power struggle is going on. And legal framework that are all the zones in this Arctic zones are covered by the UN clause, unlike the demilitarized Antarctic zone, which is for which there is a separate treaty. And due to this overlapping maritime claims and military posturing that is happening in this zone, there may be further tensions that will happen in this Arctic zone. Now, where do the tensions actually arise? For example, US interest in the Greenland, and after Mr. Donald Trump assumed the office, he said that he have a proposal to buy Greenland altogether. So when he will be buying the Greenland, obviously all the resources in that zone will be of United States itself, and all other countries in the Arctic circles might not be happy with this particular posture or this particular step of the United States. As well as there are US-Canada disputes going on. For example, with related to the Northwest Passage, Canada views it as internal water, where US call it as the international water. So this Northwest Passage in this zone of the Arctic Circle is also one of the major dispute reason between US and Canada. Then the Russia and the NATO stream, that some of these countries which are located in this Arctic Circle, for example, USA and other countries, they are the member of NATO, and obviously there are various tensions that is going on between NATO members and Russia. And after Russia attacked Ukraine, these countries have further apprehensions that tomorrow Russia may claim the further land in this zone of the Arctic itself. So that is the reason the NATO countries are increasing their presence in this zone. Also, UK have highlighted the strategic importance of the GI-UK gap, and that is the reason this China's interest is also growing in this region. And if you talk about the why Arctic actually matters, so the resource wealth, that if you look into this zone of the Arctic Circle, 13% of undiscovered oil, 30% of untapped natural gas that we have talked about, as well as some rare earth metals rare earth elements are available in this zone. What are rare earth elements? They are group 17 elements whose importance is critical in high technology. Their use has exploded. The electronics, renewable technology increasingly have become part of everyone's daily life. For example, it is highly used in semiconductor industry. It is highly used in defense equipments. It is used in renewable energy, for example, solar photovoltaic module, etc. Whatever these are being built, rare earth elements are being used. And we know that this is the future. This technology is our future. So any of the country who will have the resources of rare earth elements, they will have an upper hand in the trade, in ensuring that they have better technology in future. As of now, China tops the list of reserves as well as the mine production. While US has 1.5 million tons in reserves, it still depends on China for refined earth elements, because refining, mining, etc. takes lot of efforts. Newer technologies are needed. India also has significant amount of reserves of rare earth elements. Also, the Greenland deposits have attracted the global investments, and China has also invested, so that is again the matter of concern. Then the trade routes, for example, this Northeast Passage that could reduce the Asia-Europe shipping distance to almost 8,000 kilometers. So that is again one of the area why the countries are fighting for this, that this can diminish the cost of trade between Asia and Europe. And if you talk about this rare earth, we have discussed that they are highly used in catalyst, electronics, glass, ceramics, metal alloys, magnets, etc. And if you talk about the various other things like cell phones that you people are using, this is being used in all these things. So what is the road ahead? What is the path ahead? As we have the Antarctic Treaty, which is calling for no military use, there should not be any military claims, and any territorial claim should be also put on hold. There can be a treaty like this, or there can be agreement like this to manage the Arctic. So we need to strengthen the international cooperation. For that, we need to empower the Arctic Council, that they have at least some mandate that can be provided to ensure that there is no military use, as well as there is a peaceful use of resources in the Arctic zone. Also, we can build multilateral binding treaties, and that will help in ensuring that less conflict are there, and conflict resolution mechanisms should be also provided so that the litigations conflicts can be reduced in time bound manner. Also, there should be focus on sustainable resource extraction, so that the ecology of the overall Arctic should not be disturbed, cannot be disturbed, and there should be transparent resource management. Whatever the mining etc needs to be done, there should be transparent process for that. Also, the military transparency and confidence, there should be confidence building measures should be done. This zone should be called as demilitarized zone, as well as sustainable trade and shipping should be promoted. For that, safe Arctic shipping, global shipping standards, shipping safety protocols, whatever there are in news, they needs to be implemented in letter and spirit properly. There should be proper oversight mechanism also for their implementation. There is need for scientific research and monitoring. For that, international research collaboration can happen. Global monitoring systems can be developed. Also, the global diplomacy and conflict prevention should be promoted. Diplomatic dialogue platforms, conflict prevention strategies should be promoted, and this Arctic should be used for the peaceful as well as for the welfare or overall humankind. For example, as you would be aware of the fact that there are various storage, especially with regard to various seed storage structures which has been built in the Arctic region, that is also called as the doomsday storage. So if this kind of storage, if this kind of initiatives will be taken, that will help in saving overall mankind from any catastrophe, that will help in ensuring that there is a peaceful world. This is a main practice question from this particular topic. Please write this question. In our simplified topic, our first topic is related to new education policy or national education policy 2020. There is an editorial which has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 6, and this particular topic is related to your GS paper 2, education, government policies and intervention. So this national education policy 2020, which has replaced the national education policy 1983, and this new national education policy 2020 was formed after the recommendation of the drafting committee, which was headed by Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan. And this national education policy 2020 actually focuses on development of creative potential of each child, as well as they are focusing on the development of foundation literacy and numeracy, as well as there is a high order focus on development of the cognitive capabilities and the skills of the child. So this particular editorial is mainly talking about the foundational literacy and numeracy, how well state has performed in the implementation of that, and whether there were some issues which were visible and how we can address that. So if you talk about this foundational literacy and numeracy, it refers to a child's ability to read with meaning and solve basic maths problem by class 3rd, and these are the crucial basic skills that help them succeed in life. And as per, to implement the provisions of the national education policy properly, to ensure that there is proper foundation literacy and numeracy, this Nipun Bharat initiative, that is National Initiative for Proficiency in Reading with Understanding and Numeracy, was launched. Now what is happening, that as per this ASER report, that is annual survey on education report, annual status of education report 2024, which is released by NGO Pratham. Earlier, in its earlier report few years back, there were various abysmal situations which came to light, that class 5th students are finding it difficult to solve sums of class 2nd and 3rd, and that is the reason there are focus on developing that foundation literacy and numeracy before class 2nd itself, by class 2nd itself. So the National Education Policy 2020, that has framed the universal acquisition of foundation literacy and numeracy as an urgent national mission, and state government has put enormous efforts into this program. and that is the reason, because it is intended to meet the goal of ensuring every child acquires this FLN by class 2, and that is the end of the newly designated foundational stage. There are different stages which are categorized, which has been categorized under the national education policy. For example, earlier 10 plus 2 formula was being used. Now it is the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. That 10 plus 2 structure, in which policy was covering the school from class 1 to 10 and then class 11 to 12, gives way to 5 years of foundational education, 3 years of preparatory education, 3 years of middle, and 4 years of secondary schooling. So here, now, as per the reports and the findings of the annual status of education report ISER, it says that more than 80% of the 15,728 rural households across the country that were visited as part of the survey reported to have received the directive from the government to implement the foundation literacy and numeracy activities for classes 1 to 3, and in over 75% of these schools, at least one teacher has received in-person training of the foundation literacy and numeracy. And it is not the training, but these teachers has been also communicated the importance of these foundational literacy and numeracy, as well as what is the importance of attitudinal shift towards ensuring that the students are giving proper directions, proper reading, proper education of the foundation literacy and numeracy. So earlier, whatever the laws or the policies that were being made, these people who were on ground, the responsibility lies with them for the implementation, but they were not understanding the logic or the rationale behind those policies. For example, when we are saying to you people that you have to read your NCERTs for ensuring that there is a strong base that you are building, you have to read the newspaper to ensure you are updating yourself regularly. So until and unless we will show you some of the PYQs which has been asked directly from the NCERTs, from the newspapers, until and unless we will show you that how with the basic NCERT reading you can understand various concepts in a better way, you will not understand the importance, you will not understand the logic behind why we are recommending these NCERTs and the newspaper. And that is the reason the shift has been ensuring to ensure that these teachers who are getting the training, they also understand the logic behind developing this foundational literacy and numeracy. Also, the attitudinal shift has been visible in these teachers, whatever the methods that they are following. For example, instead of only using the blackboard or the whiteboard, they are now coming with the cricket balls. They are now coming with the fruits and other things, so that they can help the students in a better way to understand the subtraction, addition, etc., which are the basic foundation numeracy and the literacy. But one of the most crucial decision on what and how to teach are still based on the syllabus completion. It is not based on the foundational literacy and numeracy, what is important and what is not important. It is based on the syllabus which is given by the relevant authorities. And there is little doubt that some things have changed for better since the roll of National Initiative for Proficiency in Reading and Understanding of the Numeracy. That with the Nipun Bharat, there has been improvement in the learning outcomes as well as in the achievement of FLN goals. Apart from that, the editorial further says, for example, a classroom that comprises a large number of class 2 students with limited space to move about requires a different approach that one with the students from several different grades which are sitting outdoors. Several teachers said that they have the limited opportunities to identify and discuss these challenges. So what the editorial is actually saying, that with these teachers who are the bodies who are implementing these norms related to the national education policy, they are implementing the parameters of national education policy. But when you are implementing any policy, there will be various challenges that will come on ground with regard to the implementation of that policy. But these teachers do not have access to any officer or any relevant authorities. With them, they can discuss those challenges that are coming. With them, they can get some solutions of those challenges which are coming while implementing those policies. And this is the bottom-up approach which is required in the implementation of the policies, because what we are following top to bottom approach, that some policy has been made at top. Now it has been said that it is the duty of everyone on the ground to implement that policy. But what about the new challenges that are coming related to implementation of those policies? So until and unless those apprehensions, those doubts, those challenges will be resolved, we will not be able to address those issues which are coming in the implementation in a better way. So that is the suggestion which has been suggested, that there is need for more bottom-up approach. There is need for space to practice and then to adopt new method and materials as needed. Teachers are often unable to make full use of the guidelines and materials that are provided to them. So there is need for more training to them, there is need for more supply of materials to them, as well as there is need for more consensus building, more collaboration, more communication between these teachers as well as the relevant authorities. There are various other points which has been focused by the national education policy. For example, multi-stream flexibility to use subject across streams, diluted boards, that is board exams to test only core competency, and the multilingual approach, that is 3-language policy to continue with preference for the local languages, as well as there will be some bagless days. Apart from that, there will be some other critical life skills that will be developed. Focus will also be on vocational education, and there will be some fee cap, as well as there will be also focus on going global, means top rated global university to be facilitated to come to India, top Indian institutions to be encouraged to go global. Our next topic is mechanization beyond tractors. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 3, agricultural resources, e-technology in the aid of farmers, and this has appeared in today's Indian Express, page number 11. So if you talk about the data from Ministry of Agriculture and Farm Welfare, it is saying that for the agricultural activities, there is at least around 47% of farm mechanization that we have witnessed. So it shows that still the most of the things are being done manually itself. There is very less farm mechanization, and this particular piece of article especially talks about that mechanization is mainly towards the tractor itself, and which is now witnessing a shift towards the various other equipments. For example, rotavators, for example, various equipments that can be used for seeding, or the happy seeders, which is being used to tackle the issue of the happy seeder, etc. So farm mechanization in India has been synonymous with tractors only, that most of the people, whenever they have money, they were going to buy the tractor itself. And the four-wheeler replaced the bullocks in Indian farms as a vehicle to pull implements, plows, harrows, cultivators, or the drills. But what we are witnessing that the market of farm machinery such as rotavators is growing in India volume wise, and its growth is now twice that of tractors itself. That was said by the Mr. Rajat Gupta, who is the founder of Tractor Junction, a digital marketplace for tractors and farm equipments. Because rotavator is one such particular equipment which is ensuring that there is less need of inputs. It is helping in ensuring that farm is prepared, as well as seed is also mixed at the same time. Then there are various other tractor mounted implements like tillage tools, crop protection, chemical sprayers, balers, loaders, trolleys, and laser land levelers. So the market of these equipments are also growing, and market for self-propelled wheel moving harvesters combined is some around 8,000 units annually. That is also seeing an uptrend. Then the tractor's motive power can be deployed for most agricultural operations as well as for haulage and other non-field purposes, and that is the reason tractors mechanization has witnessed the uptrend, because tractor is one of the important component with the help of which all these farm components are being used. Then there are custom hiring centers which has also seen an uptrend, where individual owner operators of expensive farm machineries works on the field of multiple farmers may be a more sustainable route for agricultural mechanization in India. That sharing of the resources is happening, and this is where this Agricultural Infrastructure Fund has been also ensuring that there is proper supply of the farm mechanization equipments. What is this Agricultural Infrastructure Fund? This is a scheme of the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, which is a central sector scheme, and objective of this scheme is medium to long-term debt financing facility for investment in post-harvest management infrastructure and community farming assets. So community farming assets are also one of the area of the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, and this was launched in 2020. And if you talk about the farm mechanization, at this point of time, whatever the backward and forward linkages are there in the agriculture, the backward linkages related to inputs, etc., and for example crops, the crop seeds, the fertilizers, irrigation, etc., that we are using. Then the forward linkages, the price discovery, transportation, etc., that we are witnessing. So the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund is more focused on the post-harvest management. Beneficiaries are farmers, primary agricultural credit societies, farmer producer organizations, self-help groups, state agencies, and it was part of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, which was launched to address the global supply chain disruptions as well as overall supply chain disruptions after the COVID-19 restrictions came. There is provision of 1 lakh crore by banks and financial institutions as loans with an interest subvention of 3% per annum. Interest subvention means that if there is a person who is paying the loan that he have taken in a timely manner, so there may be less interest, he will be liable to pay less interest. For example, normally if there is 7% which is going to be charged on 1 lakh rupees loan, with the help of interest subvention of 3%, if the person has paid his or her loan within 6 months or within due time, he will be liable to pay only 4%. He got 3% interest subvention. Also, credit guarantee coverage has been provided, and these are the eligible activities under the Agricultural Infrastructure Fund. Next topic is the Rafah city, where Israel orders evacuation of Rafah city in Gaza South, and this is related to your prelims mapping and places in news. This has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 14. So Israel military on Monday has issued sweeping evacuation orders covering Rafah and nearby areas, indicating it could soon launch another major ground operation in Gaza Strip, which is the southern city in the Gaza. And Israel military ordered the Palestinian to head to Muvasi, which is a sprawl of squalid tent camps along the coast. Order came during the Eid ul Fitr itself. So this Mulwasi is again one of the place that you need to remember. This is the Rafah, which is the southern city in the Gaza. That location might be asked in the prelims examination. Then two important corridor, that is Netzarim corridor as well as this Philadelphia corridor, that you need to remember. This Philadelphia corridor is between Egypt and Gaza, that provide access to foods and medicines, etc. This is one of the route with the help of which access is being provided, and mainly from this Rafah crossing all this food, etc. is being supplied to the Gaza. Apart from that, all the countries which are bordering the Israel, try to remember that, because Israel and Hamas situation were there from past 1 year. Israel was continuously in news from past years, so try to remember the bordering countries of the Israel, because in 2023 itself there was a question on Ukraine bordering countries. So this year or next year they can ask about the bordering countries of Israel. Next topic is that NITI Aayog has opened portals on the state finances today, and this is related to your GS paper 2 center state relation and GS paper 3 growth and development, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 12. So amid complaints by various states where the opposition parties rule are there, that they are facing the discrimination with regard to sharing of resources, Union Finance Minister will on Tuesday launch a website which has been developed by NITI Aayog and National Council of Applied Economic Research on State Finances. And according to the NITI Aayog, the portal will be a comprehensive repository of data on social, economic and fiscal parameters, research report papers and commentary on the finances of a state for past 30 years from 1991 to 2022-23. And this portal has four main components, including state reports, data repository, state fiscal and economic dashboard, as well as research and commentary on these finances. And the NITI Aayog said that state reports will summarize the macro and the fiscal landscape of the 28 states. The data repository will offer direct access to the complete database, which are categorized across 5 verticals, including demography, economy, structure, fiscal, health and education. And because the recommendation of the Finance Commission, which decides or which recommends the devolution of funds between center and states, that is based on these indicators, that is demographic, fiscal, health, all those things, the forest cover, etc. So with these reports, it will be more transparent devolution of funds with the states. These are some other important indices which are released by the NITI Aayog, which was established on 1st January 2015, and it is going to complete 10 years on 1st January 2025, and that is the reason there may be a question from NITI Aayog either in the prelims examination or the mains examination. So try to remember these indices which are released by the NITI Aayog. Then our last topic is India-US tri-service exercise, which is going to start from April 1 to 13. And this particular topic is related to your General Studies paper 3, Defense Technology, as well as the topics related to your disaster management. And this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 12. So the context is that the 4th iteration of India-US tri-service humanitarian assistance and disaster relief exercise named Tiger Trump is scheduled to take place from April 1 to 13. So this name might be asked in your prelims examination. And in a statement released released on Monday, the Navy outlined the objectives that the exercise aims to enhance the interoperability of conducting the human assistance and disaster relief operations and to formulate standard operating procedures for establishing the combined coordination center so that there can be a timely response, as well as this center would facilitate rapid and seamless coordination between India and US joint task forces during the exercises, crisis and contingencies. For example, if any natural disaster comes, for example earthquake or tropical cyclone, etc., so that there can be a joint coordinated response that can ensure that timely efforts can be provided that can diminish the loss of life of the people. Now, what are the other exercises which are related to the United States? For example, exercise Yuddha Abhyas, which is an annual army exercise and between India and United States. Then you have the exercise Vajra, which is a special forces joint training exercise between India and United States. Then exercise Cope India, which is an air force exercise. And then we have the exercise Malabar, which also includes Japan and Australia, and it incorporates naval warfare drills. We have another humanitarian assistance and disaster relief exercise with the name Samanvay, where India and ASEAN nations take participation. Then the CDRI, or Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, which was launched at UN Climate Action Summit in 2019 by India, and which is a global partnership of nations, united agencies, multilateral developmental banks and other private sectors. And the objective is to promote the resilience of infrastructure or systems to tackle the climate and disaster risk, ensuring the sustainable development of all. That is all from today's Analyst. Thank you very much. All the very best. Keep studying.